Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the CSMI radio broadcast, Today's Christian Music with James Burkhardt.
And good afternoon. With me on the phone today is Brendan Brooks. How are you, Brendan?
Fantastic.
Well, we're
doing well.
Glad.
Very busy and doing well.
Great. That's just awesome. So, I've got a copy of a CD by you called Broken.
Yes.
How is that doing for you these days?
Fantastic. It's a few years old now, but it is still being played, and I had the opportunity to get 3 songs on that on CCLI, which I'm sure you might be familiar with, but your listeners might not
Sure.
be. And that is the church copyright licensing, where I'm just going to say over 90% of churches in the country have to pay a yearly membership to legally do worship in their churches. And a lot of people don't realize that there's license that has to be bought and permitted in order to even just sing songs in church. And so there's 3 of my songs that are in there, and there's churches all over the country and all over the world that are playing my music for their worship services. So,
well, which 3 songs?
Worthy to be Praised,
Okay.
Your Love, and Yes, Lord are the 3.
Oh. Yeah, those are great. Well, I know that I think S&T Radio, my little internet station, is playing 2 of them off this record.
Yes.
Yep, we're playing Lift 'Em Up, and we're going to play that at the end of this podcast, and I'm excited to play
Fantastic.
that again because it's a great song. But then I think on S&T Radio we're also playing Worthy to Be Praised, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, those were the 2 that were my radio singles off of that album.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we're glad that it's picking up in the churches. That sometimes that can be a little bit of a slow freight train to get your songs worked through the CCLI log jam. But at least it's happening. 20 years ago, they pretty much took anybody and everybody, but their database got so bogged down with songs that were never used anywhere that the last 10 years, they've really tightened up restrictions on how to even get in there. And not everybody is allowed. So without getting the technical side of things, it's not a cakewalk to get in there. So. Yeah, but at least unlike at the dawn of Jesus music, artists get paid for having their songs sung in church. I wonder how much Children of the Day would have made off of Come to the Waters or For Those Tears I Died. It was under both titles, but still, that was played at practically every baptism service I've ever been in. College and Campus Crusade for Christ and all sorts of places, but it didn't exist back then.
Right. Yeah, I look at my quarterly checks I get, and I can't even imagine, like Chris Tomlin's checks from CCLI.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta be astronomical. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, I'm glad you're in there because you're in good company when you make it on the CCLI list. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So you're pretty busy starting next week for the next few months. What's going on? Tell us about it.
It has been it's been a very, very busy year. I've probably done 70 dates already this year, and coming off of the the COVID thing. There's a lot of things that have been opening back up, and starting this weekend, I probably have 30 shows in the next 60 days. That's happening. A lot of stuff is literally back to back, and it's been pretty funny because last year was going to be my first year that I just considered myself full time in music. I play 100 plus shows a year before then, but I also had other things back at home, and so it was really crazy, and I got rid of a lot of things else that I did, and I was just going to focus on music. Well, COVID then took care of that. I had a 4-month tour solid plan that I was going to be gone from home, and that whole thing got canceled. And this year, my family, we had another property that we sold, and we were planning on moving this summer. And so I wasn't purposely planning on booking a lot, but things have just been pouring in. And a lot of these shows in the next 2 months, I haven't even initiated or booked. People have been contacting me, wanting me to come and play, which is amazing as an artist when, you get to that point where you're not making all the initial phone calls and emails to try to, get these concerts booked that don't even technically exist until you initiate it. So things have been really good in that concern, and it's going to be a very, very busy rest of the summer for me.
Well, that's good. Well, what do you think has helped to make that happen? Was it that you were on the phone a lot during COVID, or what do you think is the reason for this great windfall?
Well, I wouldn't say I was on the phone much at all during COVID. I was really busy. I did a lot of home remodeling. My mom actually put me to work and put a new kitchen in my mom's house last summer. But I've had some, in the last 6 months, some really great contacts that, like traveling ministries that are doing events all over the country. And I've been getting plugged into just some amazing resources that way, and not even intentionally. And so it's really filled in my schedule. I got this one ministry that I help out with Minnesota, and I've got 6 or 7 dates that were scheduled this summer just with that one ministry. So things like that have really, really helped keep my schedule full.
Well, that's awesome. I hear that you've written a song. Actually, you've been asked to write a song by a ministry, and it's being recorded.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Okay. Well, this is one of those ministries that I just got to mention. A couple months ago, I got just this random email from this horse ranch that was a couple hours from me, and they asked if I had this specific weekend open. Actually, it was kind of the same time that I met you. I got this email while we were in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, at that conference. And I had no previous contact with these people. They just did a local search and found me. And it turns out that there is an organization that uses horses as therapy for people that are troubled, and they've got a whole program that they bring people in and through horses, they it's kind of like a healing step, and I guess they just use horses as a tool to connect people with God and as a ministry. Well, this organization does this stuff all over the country. And while I was doing this event, they asked about this specific weekend, and that was the only weekend that month that I had available. And it was only like 3 weeks out when they first contacted me. Well, we did this event. It was absolutely amazing. And they asked if I would be willing to write a song for their organization. And we kind of like laughed about it, joked about it. And I said, okay, horses really aren't my thing. Not really something I typically write about. We did another event like 3 weeks ago in Kansas. And it was like we did 4 days of tent revival services at this horse ranch. And the second day we were there, a bunch of us went to breakfast, and the comment was made again, so when are you going to write us a song? And it was raining outside, so when we got back to the ranch, I was staying in a camper and couldn't really do anything outside. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down and write this song. And so I pounded out. I had a few ideas, and that evening for our evening service, I kind of just made a special appearance that said, all right, I got something to share. And I brought the founders of the organization up, and I'm like, I finally wrote your song, and they just jaws hit the floor, and so they absolutely loved it. And all they could say was, how can we get this recorded? And this is going to be our theme song for our organization. And so, yeah, and then I had to do the work and get a hold of a producer in Nashville, and so we are scheduled to get it recorded the end of next month.
Awesome. That sounds like a great thing. You know, it sounds like a horse whisperer in reverse. But
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We're talking about doing a music video. I'm like, man, they're gonna make me wear a cowboy hat. And if people know me, that's kind of not my deal.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You know, what were some of your ideas? I don't want you to give the song away until you've got it recorded. But I mean, what came to my mind was Jesus riding a white horse, you know, at the end of the days. But that's hardly the positive image you want, right?
That really wasn't in it at all. And it was kind of, I had to really put a lot of extra thought into this. A lot of my songs don't come from, all right, here's this idea, write a song about it. That typically is not what happens. Usually all of a sudden I'll wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and then I run with it. So it was kind of a challenge because I didn't want to just talk about horses and didn't want it to be like a kid song, let's go ride a pony, you know, but try to use the concept that I've been writing about a lot the last few years. I do a lot of recovery groups, but having healing and broken people, kneeling at the foot of the cross, and that's kind of what they do with horses. It's not just for random people. It's a therapy thing. So to bridge that gap between a horse and the spiritual aspect of it was kind of tough without emphasizing both. But you can't just talk about the beginning of the song, just let's go ride a horse today sort of deal. But it's an amazing song. It just pretty much basically breaks down the fact where people that are needing assistance and can use horses for that therapy, and at the end, being able to give your burdens to God, and offer some forgiveness and just the comfort that it can bring, without giving too much away. It's a great tune.
Right.
I can't wait to hear the final production and how they're going to use it. This organization actually has they're involved in 4 TV networks, so it's going to be all over the place by the time it's done.
Well, that's awesome. We're looking forward to that. When that comes out, you got to come back on.
All right.
And talk some more about it. We can talk. Sure. It sounds like we'll be talking about your post summer flurry of activity anyway. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really slow down until the end of September. So, and then it doesn't totally slow down because then I got some big fall trips. I'll be heading to Texas and maybe even Florida, where you're from, in October. So, but it's not constant every weekend. But if I ever make it down your way, you will definitely be contacted.
Well, I appreciate that. you live up there in God's country in Wisconsin. At least that's
right.
That's how they used to advertise it in Chicago when I was growing up.
Well, you could say anything is God's country in Chicago because oh man, that place is getting to be a nightmare more and more. So when there's more shootings in Chicago any given day than New York and LA combined, that's not a good thing.
No, definitely not. And that city needs a lot of prayer. There's some very good ministries there that are, from my assessment, kind of under siege. But I know that there's, a lot of, Sean Foyt got in there, not without a bit of hassle, but hey, they did a Let Us Worship event in Chicago, which I was glad. But it's just incredible, what's going on in some of our cities. But, so, you're one of the brave ones that straps on an acoustic guitar and walks up to a microphone without a band behind him.
Yeah.
Describe what that experience is like, because I know you had a band, or at least you had a recording band when you made the CD, some guys you worked with. But what's it like to be you and the Lord and the guitar?
Well, if I go back a dozen years, I did have a full band, and there was 4 of us. We were a very tight-knit group on stage, but off stage there was a lot of drama. I was always ministry guy, and the other guys seemed to be more performance-based, and there was some conflict. The more and more we got involved in the music industry, the more like God seemed to get squeezed into a smaller box. And it's not that we weren't ministering, but it was performance. It was performance and big crowds, and we did very, very, very well. And I'm not going to go through the whole staff story of how we ended up falling apart. But when I started doing solo stuff 5-6 years ago, I'd taken the previous experience and kind of reversed it, and it's been so much fun. I've been blessed so much by doing what I get to do. We used to charge pretty hefty per show, and we were turning down shows constantly. And I kind of made a point when I was doing solo stuff that I was going to literally rely on God, and if God was in this, then He was going to be able to fund everything and keep me afloat. And so I would say 95% of what I do is all free will offering based, and God supports me. It's been quite a ride, and but it's been a ton of fun. I wouldn't change it up for the world. When you have just a guitar, and sometimes I play with backing tracks, there's a challenge because like a lot of the bigger festivals, they want a full band. They don't want a solo person up there unless you're a very popular solo person. They want the full band experience for their audience. So there's a lot of venues that I can't play, but it also makes it a whole lot easier scheduling wise, because when someone contacts me for a show, all I have to look at is one calendar, and that's my own, and I don't have to make decisions for other bandmates. So it's a lot easier just to take care of me, and logistically, whether my family comes or not, it's so much easier logistically, travel wise, to being a solo artist.
I can well imagine. What you've had some experience with recovery groups.
Yes.
Ministering within that environment. Do you consider that almost a special calling?
I would, and let me share how that actually started. So I got to open up for Sidewalk Prophets, which I'm pretty much sure everyone listening knows of. And that was in the fall of 2016, maybe 17. And every time I get around bigger events, I always announce, if you have a church function, special event, backyard barbecue, anything you want me to come speak and play at, come see me after the show. And I had 2 different recovery groups that approached me that evening. I had never been asked to go to a recovery group. I did some prison ministry before, but it wasn't, it was very, very dry as far as like the ministry aspect of. And I was actually somewhat nervous when the dates got closer, because I was raised very, very conservative, and there were no recovery groups in my area because it's such a rural area. And I was kind of raised where you just didn't associate with people that are in recovery or, affiliate themselves with recovery. And so I was nervous. I'm like, man, I've got nothing in common with these people at all. And another strike against me is that I used to be a police officer, and I thought once they found that out, there all of a sudden was going to be rotten tomatoes, and they were just going to boo me off stage. But what I found out is the exact opposite. And the first group was absolutely amazing. Second group, the same thing. And these are real people that are talking about real problems. Most churches in this country, you mentioned the word recovery to the Sunday morning church pew sitters, and they turn a deaf ear. They don't want it. They think it's not for them. But anyone that confesses to be a Christian is recovering from something, regardless of, whether it's lying, overeating, it's everything in God's eyes is sin. And when I realized that, it opened up my whole eyes, my ministry to just amazing ministry. And I do make it a point to do a lot of recovery groups, and have found so much joy and being able to pray over people that are in that state of hurting, but they're at a place where they're ready to receive the goodness that can come from God and the peace. The ministry in recovery groups is absolutely amazing. And a lot of artists kind of look at me like, why would you do that? Like, those people are deadbeats. They don't have any money, and I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the ministry. And but there's a lot of amazing things that have happened out of recovery groups. Actually, Lift Them Up. It's got an amazing story through a recovery group, and I don't know if you want me to share it now or share it before you play it.
Well, go ahead and share it now.
Okay.
We're about we got about 3 minutes before we got to play the song. So
I'll make it quick. So the 5th group I ever went to, there was this young gal waiting for me, and I pulled in, and I was out of state, and she came running out of the building yelling my name, and just so excited to see me. I'd never been there before, and when I got out of my vehicle, she gave me this big hug, and then she said, "You saved my life." And that really rocked my world, because I had no idea who she was. But she was riding in the car one day with her mom and was contemplating suicide. More than contemplating, she already had 2 failed attempts that both landed her in the hospital. And she was only 18 years old, but the third time she was going to make it happen. Her mom turned on the radio one day, and they played this song. And she said the Holy Spirit was just churning inside of her, and all she could think to do was to go to church. And so she found a church. She actually called up the radio station to find out who sang it. She'd never heard of me before, but that song got her to go to church for the first time. And that church had a recovery group that met every week. And here, a few months after this event, I'm standing right in front of her. That messed me up really good. But also the fact that I had not released this song to radio. And to back up even further, this song wasn't even going to be recorded. My producer in Nashville heard me do a live version of this and said, "Why are we not recording this?" And he just assumed it either wasn't mine or I already recorded somewhere. So I tell people a song that I wasn't going to record, that I didn't release to radio, changed someone's life that I never met. And only God can put those pieces together. And eventually I realized, I need to really think twice about why I do what I do, because there could be other people out there that I might never lay eyes on, but I could be impacting their lives through releasing a song. So Yeah, there's my lift 'em up story.
Yeah. Well, that's a great story, and want to thank you for joining us today. And why don't you give your give your website and your Facebook page, and then we'll play the song.
Absolutely. It's just BrendanBrooksMusic.com. Now, my name is spelled BrenDan. BrendanBrooksMusic.com. It's Brenda with an N. Otherwise, Facebook.com/Brendan Brooks Music. And if there's anyone listening that wants to book me for a show, I travel everywhere in this beautiful country of ours. And shoot me a Facebook message or through my website, you can get a hold of me.
Yep. And we thank you again, Brendan. It's been a blast. So here you go. Lift 'em up by Brendan Brooks.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.
Everybody has a problem to solve. The rope is fraying away and you think you're gonna fall. Everybody has a favor to repay. Their act of kindness is now hung over your head. But the Bible says, lift 'em up to the one who made you, the one who saved you, the one who lifts you up. Lift 'em up to the one who made you, the one who saved you, the one who lifts you up. Lift 'em up. The wind is raging and the water is rising. Your ship is sinking and you never learned how to swim. You wake up crying but now see the sun shining. Your alarm was set for 7, but it's already 10. And here we go again. Lift 'em up to the one who made you, the one who saved you, the one who lifts you up. Lift 'em up to the one who made you, the one who saved you, the one who lifts you up. All of your worries, all of your problems, all of your failures, your troubles, cast all your cares to the one who cares for you. He cares for you. All of your pain, your shame, your scars. Listen up to the one who made you, to the one who saved you, to the one who lifts you up. So listen up to the one who made you, to the one who saved you, to the one who lifts you up. Listen up to the one who made you, to the one who saved you, to the one who lifts you up. Lift 'em up to the one who made you, to the one who saved you, to the one who lifts you up. Lift 'em up. Lift 'em up.
This has been the radio broadcast, Today's Christian Music with James Burkhardt. For more information about Christian songwriters and musicians, international, please go to our website at www.csminetwork.com or email us at cwnnashville@gmail.com. God bless.